Hi, I'm your teacher, Miss Leiter. I am learning how to add some video for the people who are on virtual or they have to miss a day so that they can catch up. And then also the kids who are in my class, they can look back if they need to remember what we did that day. This is what our Edge Reader looks like. I'm sorry that it's backwards on the video, but when you look at it, that's why our card looks like it does. So this book has 7 units, and each unit is separate than the other. So it's not like you have to do Unit 1 in order to understand Unit 2 that builds on Unit 3. They are 7 different reading units that cover seven different essential questions. So if you're in my class for 2 years and you have Reading 1 and Reading 2, then you will have the whole book. And at the end of the year, we do a novel. And I do a different novel every other year. So I came up on Sunday afternoon and I'm going to work on doing what I don't think you can get out of just looking at a book. So what I did was I took an old book and I cut the pages out. It is an old book, so when you look at the pages, I scanned them, but I had to mark out the page that it used to be in the old book. It's the very same information in the new book, it's just different page numbers. So that when I talk about being on page 280, I wanted you to see page 280, but in the old book, it was 266. So I did a little marking out magic. That's why when you look at that, you can see how I marked out the page. So the essential question for this unit is, how much should people help each other? That is why we started out with the survey that we started out with. We watched a video and I tried to put an inspirational video on, and we talked about, making a difference in the world, making a difference in our own life. And one way that we make a difference in our own life is really to, we set our Be Do Have goal at the beginning of the year. And then we listened to Errol Moody, and he talked about the difference that he made in his personal life. He realized was the effort that he put in. And so hopefully you watched that video and you gave some feedback on it. So then we filled out the questionnaire about volunteering. Volunteering is when you do something to help others and you're not getting paid money for it. That's volunteering. We talked in class about, we have a couple of ways we volunteer at Moore High School as we do More for Christmas and More Love. And those are fundraising things that we do that help other people besides ourselves. So I don't know if you can open 2 windows on your computer and listen to me and then look at the pages that I've uploaded. I think if it were me, I would open up a tab and I would have Infinite Campus. Click on that and then click on Unit 4, and then it has the page numbers. And have that open. Then open a brand new tab. Go to More Schools, Infinite Campus. And I'm not sure how I'm going to upload this yet, but somewhere it'll say Teacher Video, Unit 4, pages, whatever. So if you could listen to me in one window and then look at the pages in another window. You could even minimize this and not have to watch me, but so that you're looking at the pages that I'm looking at as I talk. This is what we're going to do in class tomorrow. A little bit of the things you'll miss out on is the discussions that we have and the things that the students say to me and then how I respond to them. But our essential question is, how much should people help each other? And I am looking at page 180. So based on the information, and I haven't looked at it yet because everybody hasn't put their answered their survey. But looking at the facts, it says on page 280, if you look at the words as I read, it says, according to government reports, more than 65% of high school students volunteer in their communities, helping individuals or organizations in need. In a national survey, teens gave the following responses to questions about volunteering. Volunteering more than 80 hours per year. That's a lot. In our survey, it was like, did you volunteer? That's 1.5 hours a week. I don't even volunteer that much. I should, but I don't. Did you volunteer through school? If you participate in More for Christmas, then you did, or you will. If you participate in More Love fundraising, then that's some volunteering. One student said Friday that his family helps with, and I'm not going to stop this video to go get a drink of water. I'm going to grab my water. This real life, right? If you're thirsty, water break. Go get a glass of water. God, I never thought about having my water close by. I may edit that out. I don't know. I never thought about real things like that. So, how many expect to volunteer as an adult? Oh, we had one student that talked about his family volunteers, and they do what's called Church Without Walls. There's some homeless people, and they go take things to them, and they have church on Sunday morning. Find volunteering highly rewarding. That means you get something out of it that wasn't money. That's an inner reward. And then, have never had a dissatisfying experience while volunteering? So that means it's always been positive. If you've never had something dissatisfying, that's a double negative. But anyway, so when you look, you can see the percentages there. So do the results of this survey surprise you? Why do you think teens chose to volunteer? And this is where I'll ask my students, why do you do it? Why do you volunteer? I had some kids say, I like to help others. I like to be involved in my community. It makes me feel good about myself. So the essential question, all through this unit, you're going to see it says EQ. That's backwards. How much should people help each other? We're going to talk about this through reading, discussion, research, writing. Keep thinking about that question outside of school. I did not upload or scan page 281 because it's something that we're not using. So we're going to move into page 282, 283, and we're going to talk about that. So when you turn to page 282, what we'll be doing through this unit is we'll be talking about, learning about, utilizing skills and strategies on when we read something, how to remember it better, what do we, so that we process it better. I'm going to upload every story, anything that story-wise that isn't on something that I can upload for you to listen to. I'm going to do my best to get it read to you, or someone at home may need to read those pages to you if it's difficult reading for you. So this is how to read nonfiction. If you'll put your eyes on the words on page 282 at the top. The genre is nonfiction. It says at the top, there are all kinds of nonfiction, and they all give information, a lot of information. Read this article and begin to make sense. That means think about it. What do you think about the information? Ask your teacher, parent, or a classmate, friend, brother, sister, to help clarify new words or ideas. So if you come up to a word you don't know, there's just like, it's like a stop sign. You can go ahead and maybe read through what you do know, but if there's an important word you don't know, first you got to figure out what the word is. What is that word? Because unless you figure that out, it may not make sense to you. I have information for you. If it's a name, that's not going to change what the story's about. So if it starts with a K and you do your best to say a name that starts with a K, that's okay. But words inside the story, you can't skip a lot of those, because if you skip a lot of them, the story starts not making sense. So this is a news article. What's it about? You can tell from there what it's about. Say what it's about. Tell me. Did you say football? Yes, it's football season. So this is a write-up about football. I wonder what it's going to be about. So when you start to read a story, you start letting your mind think, what do I know about football? So what do you know about football? Say it out loud. I think I heard somebody say, it's a game. It's a sport. Can you name a football team? Did I hear Dallas Cowboys? Chiefs? Who's your favorite? College? OU? What about more Lions? Do we play football? Yes, we do. So, just by looking at these pictures, my brain can start thinking about what? Football. Now, before you read something, if you'll pay attention and let your brain think, just start thinking about football. Then what you read is going to make more sense to you, okay? Let your eyes go on the words. It says there are kinds of nonfiction. They all give information. Have I read that? Okay, we've already done that. Okay, here's the title of the article. Injury spoils Tiger win. Is that good or bad? Anytime somebody gets hurt, that's not good. I was at More War this year. Guess what happened? Our quarterback got hurt. I'm not for sure what happened, but I think he broke his leg. So that injury hurt our game that night. And think of whoever that young man is. So even before I've read the story, if I let my brain start thinking, just thinking about what I'm going to read, I'm going to get a whole lot more out of this. I can relate to it. So when I teach reading, I think of hooks, little hooks, little hooks, little hooks. And I get all my little hooks out in my brain, and those are my pre-thoughts, the things I think about before I ever start reading. So when I start reading, if I've got a thought out there, it might grab something. And that makes so much more sense to me. So we get all our little hooks ready, because we're going to try to understand what we read, remember what we read, and let it make sense. Injury spoils Tiger win. Banville. That's the name of a place. If I didn't know that word, I could still understand the story. Okay, eyes on words. The Banville Tigers continued their march toward the county championship Friday with a 21-14 win over Stilton. But victory came at a price. Tiger quarterback Antoine Treese was sacked in the second quarter, sustaining severe leg and knee injuries. After the game, Coach Fred Wilson said, We don't know how serious the injuries are yet. Antoine could be out for the rest of the season. Now that part that I just read, if you look at it, look at what I've scanned and uploaded for you. That must be really important because that sentence I just read is repeated right there in big, dark, bold print. Antoine could be out for the rest of the season. So that must be important. Now, if you look at the picture, he doesn't look like he's playing, running. He is down. He is on the ground. So I can assume something went wrong. Underneath, Tiger quarterback Antoine Treese was injured the second quarters. Trainers had to carry him from the field on a stretcher. Now, have you ever seen anybody get hurt on a football field? Think about it. Have you ever watched it on TV? Do some of them get up after they work on them for a while and some of them stand up? Sorry. Some of them do, don't they? But this guy, they put him on a stretcher and had to carry him off. Seesaw battle. What is a seesaw? It reminds me of when I was in grade school, and we called them teeter-totters or seesaws. And what happens? Something goes up and then down. And the other one goes up. It's back and forth. Seesaw battle. So my brain says, the score probably went back and forth. So I'm going to read. For 3 quarters, Banville and Stilton traded the lead. Banville scored first on a 22-yard pass from Treese to Corey Stern. Stilton answered in the last seconds of the first quarter, scoring from the 2-yard line to cap a 72-yard march. At the end of the game, with 32 seconds left and the score tied 14-14, Banville had the ball on the Stilton 35-yard line. After Ted Peterson ran for 5 yards, reserve quarterback Sam Yamamoto launched a deep pass for Jake Jackson. Jackson caught the ball and ran for the game-winning touchdown. Disaster strikes. When Treese dropped back to pass late in the second quarter, Stilton swarmed through the pass protection and sacked Treese for a 7-yard loss, but Treese did not get up. So these are called headings. Okay, this is a heading. This is a heading. A heading. It's darker print before another group, a bit of information. So I could, sometimes if I don't have a lot of time, I can just read the headings and see if I think what kind of injury spools Tiger win. There was a seesaw battle. Disaster strikes. Too dangerous. The score went up and down. Something bad happened. Was it dangerous? So under too dangerous, it says after the game, concerned parents gathered to discuss Treese's injuries and how to keep other players safe. District statistics, big word, show that sports injuries are a growing problem. Now what I want you to do is I want you to look at this graph. It's a bar graph. It's on your page. On the left side, it counts by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And then down at the bottom, it shows the years. Now, it doesn't come to our year. This was written a while back. But if you look in 2002, 2003, 2004, as the years go on, the injuries just go way up. So that tells us as time went on, there were more and more injuries, kids getting hurt. So this isn't our story even. This is just how to read, how to look at a nonfiction text. Then the next thing it says on page 283, I wish this would mirror, it says connecting reading to your life. So you probably don't remember every detail about the article. Not everyone. Even though you read it just or listened to it just a minute ago. But you probably remember a few things. So think about this. And I can't see your answers. I'm sad. I wish I could. But you can do true or false, okay? I'm going to read them. Antoine was injured in the game. True or false? True. The Tigers did not win the football game. True or false? They did win the game, even though he got hurt. Injuries among high school players in the district are on the rise. True? False? True. Each team was in the lead at some point during the game. True? False? True. Now, you can't compare your answer with a partner, but what I'll do in class, I'm up here on a Sunday teaching you on the camera, but I'll ask them, true or false, true or false, and we'll kind of look around the room. So our focus strategy here, if you look at the middle of the page of 283, there's some red letters, and it says determine importance. There are so many ways when you read that helps you understand what you read, and today we're talking about determining what's important and what's not important. You probably rated most or all the statements correctly because you paid attention to what was important in the article. And how did you do? The text helped you. There were clear signposts. There were headings that we talked about. We looked at a photo. I probably could have said somebody got hurt during the game and all you saw were the pictures, and you could have probably figured that out just from looking at the picture. A graph, if you read the graph, we didn't have to read the whole thing to know that the injuries are going up. All these information you can get just by looking really quick. It's just like it says right here. Put your eyes on the words. It's just like when you go to a new store, you pay attention to the big and colorful signs that tell you where you need to go, but you don't remember every little thing that you pass along the way. So at the very bottom, this is your job as a reader. Experienced readers know that they can't pay attention to everything. It's too much. What do you pay attention to then? It's your job as a reader to figure that out. Usually, you pay attention to what the author says is important, and you can tell those signposts in the text and why you're reading in the first place. I've taught reading a lot of years, and this is one thing I know. Good readers read to learn something. A good reader reads to get information. A poorer reader reads to get finished. So if I say, okay, I want you to read this paragraph, and you read it, okay, I did, I'm finished. That's not what a good reader does. A good reader will look at it, maybe look through it, see if there's any pictures, get those hooks out, read it. If they don't understand it, maybe go back and read a little more. What? Might have to put in some effort to be a better reader? Yeah, absolutely. Wow, this is getting long. Oh. Okay, but this is what we're going to do in class, so I'm going to keep going. Or I can call that part 1. Then I'll start on 284 and do 285, and I'll call that part 2. How's that? I got to figure out how to upload this. Okay, that was part 1.